Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to March 17 meeting of 2009 Housing Authority. May we have a roll call for the Housing Authority, please?
Authority members: Draymond.
Here.
Mincy.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Barazian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chairman Yusefian.
Here. May we have your report, please?
The agenda for the March 17, 2009 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, March 12, 2009 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. What's next, please?
Next is approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the minutes will stay approved as submitted. What's next, please?
Next is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision, and the matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for an investigation and report.
I have one card. Herbert Milano. I'll let Mr. Mincy deal with it. I got to deal with something.
I'll deal with you, Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Pro Tem, members of the Housing Authority, city staff. My name is Herbert Milano. I want to convey to you a comparison that has bothered me to a great extent for the past few years, and I need to bring back information that regards the city's involvement with regard to youth programs. About 4 years ago, when I think it was 4 years ago, when my son was part of the Glendale High School football team, and I was a member of the booster club for the football players, I had noticed back then how many kids that are in the football program did not have their fathers involved in the booster club. When I made inquiries about it, I was told that most of the children or the kids or the youth that were involved did not have or belonged to single-parent families. And in a way, the mothers had brought their kids over so that they could get a surrogate father. In other words, the coach or the coaches served as their guiding hand. And I was also told that those kids were able to perform better in school, got into trouble a lot less, and in a way there was a significant benefit for these kids to participate in these programs. What I also found out is that how inexpensive it was for us to allow these kids to participate, roughly $30 a month. So I thought of the idea, well, why not engage Mr. Kazazian? If you sit down, I would like to take a look at Mr. Draymond's eyes. Thank you.
I hope I don't disappoint you, Mr.
Well, you're the
They're bloodshot, if that matters.
But I normally see you and Mr. Yusefian engaging me, so I figured I lose 50% of the engagement if I don't get to see you. The point is that I mentioned to Chief Gray, what about an idea of having the fire department, each member, sponsor at least one of these kids at $30 a month? Because I figured at that time I had looked at information that they actually get deductions contributed to the Chamber of Commerce. And I said, well, why not do something similar? They engaged him, and Chief Gray thought that the idea was a good one, that it merited consideration because it also allowed them to identify kids who would be good for the fire explorers. But the idea really never took hold. Nothing much happened. I mentioned it then to Deputy Chief Howard. Same deal. He verbalized an interest. Nothing happened. Later on, I also mentioned it to Chief Scoggins before he became chief. The same deal. He said it's a good idea for us to pursue, but nothing ever came of it. I did follow-ups with emails. Nothing came of it. What I did not know back then is, and throughout these years, was the extent of the fire department payroll, because at that time we were prevented from looking at the payroll until the California Supreme Court allows us to take a look at it. Never in my life did I ever imagine firefighters earning on an average 30,000 plus, some firefighters earning over 200,000, and people retiring with salaries with pensions in excess of $180,000 a year. I mean, it floored me. But what actually floored me is the contrast of finding that there was so little consideration, or the little amount that I had considered as far as getting them engaged with youth. So in my quest to get answers, back when the economy was fine, I figured it would be not a problem. But now that the economy is hitting families harsher, the need for similar type of programs or initiatives are even more necessary. But it appears that organizations who have, should we say, very little skin in the game, meaning they either don't live in Glendale or they're not stakeholders with regard to property in Glendale, may not feel so interested in getting this type of engagement. And of course, their hours of work basically do not allow for this type of involvement. But I just wanted to tell you that if I do comparisons with the city of Irvine with regard to their focus and emphasis with regard to youth programs and facilities, are significantly greater than Glendale, even though their general fund is smaller. And that's what I wanted to convey, that we need to rethink where our priorities are. You know, in the 6-year evaluation that I did of the fire department salaries, they grew by 87%. You know, and when I take a look at many of the other salary increases, they're way out there in the double digits. And I think we need to rethink of our youth programs and programs that the housing department sponsors and rethink as to how we can approach those needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. That was the last card. What's next, please?
Next is authority member staff comments.
Comments? Mr. Draymond.
I have a question.
Yes.
It relates tangentially to what Mr. Milano was. I lost him. Oh, there he is. What I told you, my eyes. Well, I lost you completely. Sorry, Mr. Milano. Was referring to what did we conclude was the cost of youth membership for YMCA?
$10 a month.
$10 a month.
Yeah, about 120 of those.
At 120 a year.
I mean, I bought
You,
it myself.
but I mean for an individual.
Yeah.
About 120 a year.
That's
Is that about right, more or less?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, members of the Housing Authority, per your direction, staff met with the executive director of the YMCA and the YWCA, and they had indicated that they could offer a membership for approximately $80.
A year?
Yes, to young people, but they really couldn't go.
Did they
much
indicate
below
to
that.
you, Ms. Blake, when they say youth, what age range bracket they're talking about?
I would have to find out exactly. I know no, I don't. They didn't say specifically.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. And at what point, I think we need to agendize this item. I think we talked about it, agendizing it. So I'd like to agendize this item so we could talk about it, to see whether or not, whether the agency, housing authority can move in that direction to maybe provide some relief valve for kids of low-income people who can go there or not. But we need to have a discussion instead of letting it hang out there, you know. Thank you. With that, is there any other new business?
Well, it's another comment.
Another comment.
Another comment,
Yes.
also tangentially related. Just as a heads up, at this evening's council meeting, I may be making an announcement related to youth activity in the city, vis-a-vis discussions that were occurred as a result of a consensus here during housing. And I'm confused now. I don't remember whether or not, Mr. City Attorney, it had to do with discussions with the school district vis-a-vis playgrounds, and it was raised here as a result of Mr. Milano's question about park space and the consensus for me to use our
Right.
our meetings with the school board and the superintendent about joint use of existing facilities.
Right. That was the council.
All right.
And we asked you to
You gave me
carry
the
all the
authority to
water.
go for it.
Yes.
Okay.
You carry all the
So
water.
I will be raising that issue tonight.
We will be right behind you.
Okay. All right.
All right. Any other?
I move we adjourn, unless it was
Is there a
something else.
second? Second. We're adjourned.